If you are new to the channel, then subscribe the channel and press the bell icon for further notification. Okay student, welcome you all to this new lecture in GATE Power System series. So today again we will be solving 5 questions starting from question number 136 to up to question number 140. Okay, then let's try to solve these questions. Okay, in question number 136, the series impedance matrix of a short 3-phase transmission line in phase coordinates is given here. Is means is this one. Okay, if the positive sequence impedance of this much and the zero sequence impedance is this, then the imaginary part of Zm. So you have already seen for a transmission line what is positive sequence impedance, that is Z1 is equal to Zs minus Zm, and your Z0 is equal to Zs plus 2 Zm. So this is given 1 plus 10 iota and it is given Zs plus 2 Zm. This is given 4 plus J13 1. Okay, so you can solve this one and you can find Zm. So if you subtract this one, Zs will get cancelled. You will find 3 Zm is equal to, in fact, minus. Okay, let it be. It will be 3 plus 31 minus 10, that is J21. 3 Zm. So your Zm will be equal to 1 plus J7. So they have asked you the imaginary part of Zm. So the imaginary part is 7. So 7 is your answer, only 7. Now in 137, the positive, negative and zero sequence impedance of a this much star grounded 50 Hz, these are given to you respectively, the machine rating base. Okay, the machine is unloaded and working at rated terminal voltage. If the generator ground impedance is this much, grounding impedance, then the magnitude of fault current for a phase B2 ground fault. Okay, again same type of concept because it is operating at no load, so pre-fault voltage is 1. So again, normally what we do in case of LG fault, we suppose this is ABC. So you have studied sequence network. Normally what we do the fault in A phase and we write the sequence network for A only. So the fault is on A phase and we write it for A phase. So it is good for say LG fault because on the line on which the fault occurs, you write sequence for network for that one only. So here, because it is on B phase, so you will write sequence network for B phase only and we will do the fault on B phase. So same thing will come because it is same. Where it is fault, you are writing sequence for same. So here fault it is, you are writing sequence for this one. So it will be same. But in LL fault it is not different. It is different because LL, the fault is between B and C and we write for A. So we have done one problem. So if it is given the fault between A and B, so you have to change it accordingly. So C will be that, in that case your A for our normal study, and these two will be BC for sequence network, because in sequence network this is the original concept, but if they give this one, then the healthy line will become your A phase and other two will become BC. But in LG there is no problem because the line on which the fault occurs, we write the sequence for that line only. So you write the sequence for IB only. So your IB1, IB2, IB0 will be equal to, all will be equal to same. So your IF will be equal to 3 into IB1. That is your IB is equal to IB0 plus IB1 plus IB0. That is 3 into 1 by this. All these impedance will come, positive, negative, and then zero sequence, and then 3 into that grounding impedance 0.01. So if you do this one, it will be 15.78 per unit, but they have asked you in kilo ampere, so you multiply it by base. What is its base? 125 into 10 to the power 6 mega divided by root 3 into kilovolt is 15.5 into 10 to the power 3. So if you do this one, I think you will get 73.52 kilo ampere. So this is your answer. Now if you come to 138, the transient stability, now it comes to stability of a power system can be effectively improved by. So the transient stability is sudden change in load or sudden change in mechanical input or output. So that is always done if you have a very fast responding circuit breaker. If there is a sudden increase, sudden decrease, then that line can be isolated. So that is transient stability. A sudden big change in load, that is your transient stability. Okay. So improving generator excitation, this generally goes to for your voltage stability. Phase shift in transformer generally changes the angle, again related to your voltage profile improvement or balancing. Increase turbine valve opening, that is for if there is a change in load, so you will open this one, but it will take some time to settle at a point. So for better transient stability, you need a circuit breaker which operates very fast. That is nothing but single pole switching circuit breaker. So that's why 138 is C. because it will be fast in operation, so that will be helpful for my transient stability. If the load increases, then you can turn it on. If the load decreases, then you can turn it off. If the load increases, your generation is low, then you can load shed. You can switch off some of the loads by using fast switching circuit breakers, so the generator will not feel that pressure. Now in 139, in a system there are two generators operating in parallel. One generator rating is 250 MVA, having inertia constant this 6 megajoule per MVA, while other generation is inertia constant 4 megajoule per MVA. The inertia constant for the combined system, okay, they are operating in parallel. Okay, so the total inertia, if you calculate for the first one, will be 6 megajoule per MVA. So MVA is 250, so 6 into 250. Total inertia for this one, this will be added because they are in parallel, so the total inertia will be got more. So that will be 150 into 4 megajoule. So this divided by, this is total megajoule. So, and if you go for base 100, so out of 100, this is how much, so this will be your answer. So if you do it, it will be 21 megajoule per MVA. So that is your answer, 21. Next, if you come to 140, during a disturbance in synchronous machine, the rotor swings from A to B before finally settles down to a steady state point C on the power angle curve. The speed of the machine during which is synchronous. The speed should be synchronous at what point? So I think you have studied this one for equal area criteria of this type of questions. Suppose let me explain it, what it happens one more time for you. Suppose this is your point A, it was operating at this position, which is at P0 suppose. Now suddenly there is an increase in load suppose, so you will increase its mechanical power to PM1, suppose PM. Now once you increase it, the motor cannot suddenly directly go to this point. Suppose this is my delta 0, this is delta 1, this corresponding point is delta 2, this is B, and the final point is C. You want to reach at C, but it is not that it will go slowly and it will reach at delta 1. You don't need that one, or it will never happen also. Because you can think it this type of example, if I think you have done bicycle riding or motorbike riding, bicycle will be good one, you can feel it, because here in bicycle you have to pedal it, so you have to give your own force, so you can feel it. So suppose you are riding a bicycle, someone sits on your bicycle, suddenly you don't know, so what will happen? Your speed will try to drop. So in synchronous machine you cannot do it. So you are running at synchronous speed, that means at A you are at synchronous speed, so A will be always at synchronous speed. This was initial condition. Okay, now because your load is increased, what you will do, you will pedal it more. So you will apply more and more force in your bicycle, and you will pedal it more and more, so that it recovers that constant speed. So if suppose a meter is connected to your cycle, you can visualize it. The speedometer is connected, you can see your speed. So what happens, if you pedal it more, sometimes you will reach that speed, but it will not be capped at that speed, because of your inertia of the cycle, it will overshoot that speed. It will keep on rising. But then what you will do to stop it, you pause this pedaling, you will hold this pedaling, suddenly it will come down to your normal speed, then you will keep on pedaling it to that level, so that it maintains that speed. In cycle you have that luxury, you take out your legs from the pedal, so it will be no force will be applied. But in machine you cannot take out your prime mover from it, you have to constantly mechanically feed it. So what happens, because you have increased your supply to PM, a new level, so your accelerating power, you have given accelerating power, so motor will start accelerating. So it reaches this point, your required point, but it will overshoot this point. So from A to C, what will happen, it will accelerate. So from synchronous speed, it may go higher than your synchronous speed. It will start accelerating, but it will overshoot your point C also. It will not stop here because of its inertia. So when it crosses C, then your electrical demand is at PM. This is the new demand level. So, and your supply level is also this one. You are supplying this one. So what will happen? Now because you are moving here, so this is your P car, P is equal to PM. So electrical output is more, but your input, that mechanical level, you have supplied your force so that it maintains this much level, but you are going above that one, so your force becomes less. So that means you have no acceleration. Here acceleration stops because this was the requirement. But here your acceleration, because you are here, can think you are here, but you are applying power up to this much, so that's why you have accelerating power, you are accelerating. When you reach here it is 0, but due to inertia you are overshooting it. When you reach here, then your supply is less, but you are generating more. So from C to B it will deaccelerate. So once it deaccelerates at a point some, so this triangle, you think this is the accelerating power that you have gathered in this period. So the same amount when it reach here, your deaccelerating power. So that is the concept of equal area. Then it will stop at B. So it will stop at B means it will reach, suppose it has crossed its synchronous speed at C. So at a point B it will come down to its again synchronous speed. So at B it will again reach to its synchronous speed. But what happens here, because you are at B now, but your load is here, it starts deaccelerating. That means it will start again dropping from B, so it will reduce it. So, and it will again come to C. It is now deaccelerating, but after crossing C, it will not again stop at C because of inertia. So it will come again. So it will like a pendulum. It will be moving. It will be crossing its C due to its inertia. It will again come down. Again from A, again it will go to B if there is no damping. If there is damping, then what happens? It goes initially from A, C, then B, then next it comes somewhere not in A, somewhere less in A, because damping it reduces this oscillation, and again it doesn't come to B. Next time it goes to this, next time it goes to this, finally it comes down at C. So with damping it stops at C. So in initial oscillation at A it is synchronous speed, at B it is synchronous speed, and in between from A to C it was accelerating, C to B is decelerating. While also B to C it is deaccelerating, and C to A it is accelerating. So this portion is accelerating more, this portion is deaccelerating more. So you can now think at what positions they are at synchronous speed. At A and B they are at synchronous speed, these and these positions. Finally it will come to C after some time if there is a damping. Then finally at C it will be also at synchronous speed. But they are asking during this oscillation. So during this oscillation has not died out. So during this oscillations, it is at synchronous speed at A and B or these extreme points. If there is dampings, then every time this is reducing actually. But they are not asking about that. They are just asking in this curve. So at A and B, that is obviously at synchronous speed. So that is your option A. If you like the video, then press the like button and please give your valuable comments in the comment section.